How do you eliminate the stigma of social assistance? The stigma associated with social assistance participation is a very complicated issue that adversely affects both recipients of assistance as well as society as a whole. This stigma is deeply rooted in historical context and perpetuated by societal attitudes and media representations, or even misrepresentations as the case may be, ultimately leading to negative stereotypes and misconceptions about individuals who rely on social support merely for their survival. Understanding the nature of this stigma and ultimately finding solutions that reduce or even ideally eliminate this social crucifixion of the needy is crucial for both the beneficiaries and the broader societal good within the local community and the state. Historically, social assistance programs have been viewed through a lens of negative stereotypes where recipients are often labeled as lazy, dependent, or otherwise morally deficient. While this is especially true in more industrialized nations, this phenomenon also occurs in developing and third world nations as well. These misconceptions tend to ignore the complex and varied reasons individuals may require social support, such as economic downturns, health issues, or potentially even systemic inequalities. All these issues may further be exacerbated by the multi-generational nature of poverty, including both the loss of hope for a better life, constantly impressed upon the most vulnerable members of society through both the immediate symptoms and underlying causes of multi-generational poverty. Wait for the motorcycle. The persistence of these stereotypes has resulted in stigmatizing environment where recipients are unfairly judged and marginalized. The detrimental impact of this stigma for beneficiaries is both physically and mentally straining, affecting their psychological, social, and even economic well-being. Psychologically, individuals who do depend on social assistance often experience feelings of guilt, shame, and diminished self-worth. These negative emotions can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and even depression, further complicating their efforts to improve their circumstances and furthering the decline in physical health and the reliance on alcohol or drugs to alleviate the anguish of their impoverished condition. Socially, the stigmatization of social assistance results in isolation and marginalization as recipients are likely to withdraw from social interactions to avoid judgment or discrimination. This social exclusion further limits their access to support networks and opportunities that could facilitate their progress and their reintroduction to society as productive and contributing members of that society. Economically, the stigma associated with social assistance can further hinder their efforts to secure education and gainful employment and to achieve financial stability. Employers may harbor biases against individuals who have utilized social programs, viewing them as less capable or motivated, and this bias ends up reducing their job prospects and earning potential, perpetuating the cycle of poverty and dependence. Eliminating the stigma of social assistance participation is essential not only for the well-being of recipients, but also for the benefits of society as a whole. Reducing this stigma can enhance recipients' mental health and self-esteem, fostering a more positive and productive mindset. It can also promote social inclusion, allowing individuals to engage more fully, civilly with their communities and to access vital support networks. From a strictly economic perspective, eliminating the associated stigma can also improve employment prospects for recipients. This, of course, being further enhanced by the inclusion of scholastic, technical, and vocational training, depending on the circumstances of the individual. When individuals are judged based on their skills and potential rather than their need for assistance, they are more likely to find gainful employment and be more easily reintroduced as productive and contributing members of their local communities. This shift can further reduce the long-term reliance on social programs, decreasing the financial burden on the system and reallocating resources to areas of need at the same time that it reduces the burden on these others more fully integrated into the societal structure who must ultimately pay the bills through taxation on the proverbial and literal fruits of their labors. Addressing this stigma associated with social assistance will lead to a more unified and productive society. When virtually all individuals within the local community are treated with dignity and respect, societal cohesion and trust are strengthened, and the detrimental effects will be mitigated, lessening the stress on the local social environment. Again. Community engagement initiatives can build support networks for recipients and create platforms for them to share their experiences, such as those found within the rural development centers being introduced by our foundation. Involving community leaders in the destigmatization efforts will further enhance the effectiveness of these initiatives, and supplementing the efforts of the local government unit should be direct and fully accountable social support services, which further assist in ensuring that these assistance programs not only benefit the individual recipient, but the entire community as a whole, and ultimately the state, and not to mention the ones paying the taxes and footing the bill for all this. Reducing the stigma associated with social assistance through strategic educational and economic initiatives is perhaps the most viable approach for improving the median quality of life for the individuals in the local communities. Local rural development centers will play a pivotal role by offering tailored scholastic, vocational, and technical training opportunities to individuals historically reliant on social assistance programs, while at the same time allowing paying students the same opportunities in accordance with Philippine laws for fair trade practices. This approach puts the programs well within the confines of the fair trade laws of the Philippines, while at the same time fully integrating the impoverished with the more socially stable children, encouraging more personal interactions and making it more challenging to differentiate between those that have paid and those that have received full scholarships based on their dependence on social assistance programs in the past. Foundation-owned commercial ventures will also be used for providing tools and paid employment opportunities for those who were formerly among the most vulnerable members of society. Philippine laws further require that not less than 70% of net commercial proceeds fund humanitarian projects and infrastructure development when the commercial ventures are owned by the foundation. This more sustainable funding model further supports educational institutions where students from socially dependent families receive full grants to attend alongside paying students to enjoy school-wide feeding programs without separation and without identification, and reducing the capacity for determining which students are from the more productive families and which were ultimately from among the most vulnerable members of society. The redistribution of proceeds by the foundation in accordance with Philippine laws and ICNL standards does not allow for the disbursement of cash or financial dividends, but does allow for the provision of housing, micro and macroeconomic loans, rural improvement projects, and other additional programs, all of which will, by necessity and by mandate, support the efforts and increase the median of quality of life within the local community. Food programs from both the food forest and the permaculture centers, the rural development centers, also provide a long-term benefit to the local communities by introducing food programs for the elderly, the infirm, and even to all students, some public service employees, and others, further blurring or even erasing socioeconomic divides and individual class struggles. This integrated approach not only mitigates the stigma normally associated with receiving social assistance, but also renders social dependency less identifiable, further promoting dignity and equal opportunity. When combined with life skills training and other programs presented by the rural development centers to assist in the full reintegration of the most vulnerable people back into society, this should ultimately lead to a long-term reduction in poverty, as well as improving the median quality of life at the local level, and ultimately paving the way for the expansion of these programs into the surrounding communities as the number of vulnerable people in any locale are reduced through reintegration into society. The adaptive nature of these programs effectively reduces local poverty levels and serve as scalable models for neighboring communities and national implementation as the economic maturity of the foundation is increased through the growth and expansion of commercial ventures, which further funds the growth and expansion of infrastructure and humanitarian development. These programs are specifically designed and implemented to alleviate the strain on government programs and the taxpayers, while at the same time enhancing the overall quality of life, ensuring a more equitable access to education, employment, and even food security without imposing additional burdens on the taxpayer, or without being so able to easily identify those who are on social assistance, even as portions of the population are elevated and new, still vulnerable members of society are brought in for the same or expanded programs designed to elevate their position within the local societal structure. While these initiatives do provide equal opportunities for advancement, they do not guarantee equitable outcomes. This is something that needs to be noted. This may seem self-evident to some, but may require some explanation for others. Success remains contingent upon individual aspirations, aptitude, and effort. Each individual must retain their own autonomy and the ability to pursue or decline opportunities based on their own personal goals, desires, and expectations. This should serve to foster a more meritocratic environment where personal initiative is the ultimate determining factor for the selected level of achievement and improved quality of life for the individual and their family unit. By taking this approach, it respects the individual agency and acknowledges that not everyone will achieve the same outcomes despite equal access to resources and opportunity. It recognizes that personal circumstances, abilities, and the individual human experience and personal choices will all significantly influence the paths and life goals of the individual based on their unique perception and perspective. By emphasizing personal responsibility and choice, these programs encourage individuals to take ownership of their future and to pursue paths that align with their personal goals in life, unencumbered by reliance of some benevolent dictator seeking to guarantee some impossible dream dystopian utopia for those unwilling, not necessarily unable, to work for an expansion of material gains, or to mandate and restrict the capacity of the more ambitious members of society who may have more expansive and far-reaching goals for their lives. This acknowledgement that outcomes are not predetermined further fosters a culture of resilience and determination. It encourages individuals to persevere through challenges and setbacks, knowing that their efforts and decisions will play a crucial role in shaping their lives. This personal empowerment further promotes a sense of accountability and self-reliance, essential for sustainable personal and community development. While these programs create a more socially integrated environment and provide essential support for all those who may need or even desire, they further serve to underscore the principle that true success and fulfillment are ultimately determined by individual drive and determination, and their unique human experience and their individual perception and perspective. This philosophical approach not only respects the diversity of the individual human experience and perception, but also encourages a more dynamic and thriving society where individuals are motivated to at least have the capacity to realize their full potential should they so desire. So again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or you just want to get involved, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Bye. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Music by Hatman.